first. Welcome, everyone, to our council meeting tonight. We are going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Will everyone please stand? We would like to welcome each of you to our city council meeting this evening. We appreciate that you have taken your time out of your day to attend our meeting, to participate, and see your local government at work. To start the meeting, we have laid out some guidelines for decorum and civility to make sure people feel comfortable and safe to participate. Please be respectful during other people's comments. Avoid cheering, jeering, snapping fingers, or any other disruptive noise that could cause someone to feel intimidated. Please also help take care of this historic meeting room by not standing on furniture or leaning against decorative pieces. If you have a sign, prop, or other piece of equipment, video equipment, or other things, please make sure that it does not cause disruption or block other people's views. And signs wider than your chair will be displayed in the hall, please. Also, items like sticks and dowels are not allowed. Please do not approach the dais up here. If you have something to pass out to the council, a staff member can assist you. Where are the staff members tonight? If you can raise your hands. A couple over here, a couple over there. Oh, nice. A bunch over there. Excellent. Welcome, staff. They're here to help you. If you need any assistance of any kind or have any questions, please raise your hand, and a staff person will come help. Also, we recognize that 2 minutes of comment time may not be long enough to get all of your thoughts outlined tonight. Please visit our website, slccouncil.com, or refer to the contact information sheets by the speaker cards for information about other ways to share your comments with the council via email, phone, or mail. And I know that oftentimes we'll speak after these meetings as well, so just let us know. We are beginning tonight at item A4. The council will consider adopting a resolution recognizing December 1st as World AIDS Day in Salt Lake City. I'm going to turn the time over to Councilmember Wharton tonight to read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a resolution declaring World AIDS Day in Salt Lake City. Whereas, according to estimates from the Joint United Nations Program on HIV/AIDS, there are now more than 36.9 million people throughout the world living with HIV. Of these, 1.8 million are children. 1.8 million new infections occurred among adults and children in 2017 alone. And whereas in Utah, adolescents and young adults ages 13 to 24 had the second largest rate of new HIV diagnoses for the last 2 years, and whereas in Utah, persons who are non-Hispanic, Asian, and Hispanic are more likely than any other racial or ethnic groups to have stage 3 infection at the time of diagnosis, and whereas up to 80% of people living with HIV in Utah reside along the Wasatch Front, and whereas the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has found that HIV-related stigma has a significant negative impact on people living with HIV, increasing new infections and delays people from seeking testing for HIV. And whereas stigma, shame, and fear make people less likely to discuss their sexual health with doctors and often leads to delays in seeking testing or treatment for sexually transmitted infections and HIV, which can have serious long-term health consequences. And whereas the elimination of stigma in Utah will lead to a better physical and mental health outcome for people living with HIV, increased HIV disclosure, increased HIV testing, and decreased HIV infections. And whereas World AIDS Day was established in 1988 and is observed each year on December 1st to provide an opportunity for individuals and communities to take action and help educate for HIV/AIDS prevention, treatment, and care. And whereas Salt Lake City has joined other cities around the world in an effort to increase awareness, reduce stigma, provide education about HIV/AIDS, and demonstrate compassion for those affected by HIV. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Salt Lake City Council hereby recognizes December 1st, 2019 as World AIDS Day in Salt Lake City and encourages all residents to unite together in the fight against HIV/AIDS, reduce the stigma of HIV/AIDS, and support those who are living with or have been affected by HIV/AIDS. Signed by all council members.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Wharton. I will look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve this resolution.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Wharton, a second by Councilmember Valdemoros. Do we have any discussion on this? If not, I'll look, all in favor.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. We'd like to invite the Executive Director of the Utah AIDS Foundation, Ms. and then the Program Director of the same organization, Mr. Hafen, up to the front, and we can formally hand this to you and take pictures if you'd like.
Yes.
All right, we will now hold the public hearing portion of our meeting tonight. We have a few opportunities for public comment tonight, and we'll call people based on the comment cards that have been turned in. I will call two people at a time. The first person, please come forward to the microphone, and the second person, please be ready to follow. Comment time is limited to 2 minutes per person, and you cannot combine time with another speaker. And as a reminder, please help create a civil and respectful meeting by being respectful of other people's comments. Do not block other people's views with signs or items, and allow council staff to pass out handouts. The first public hearing is B1, a proposed ordinance adjusting Salt Lake City's common boundary with Mill Creek. I do have one card, George Chapman, I believe. As you come up, George, I'm going to read a little bit about what this is for the general public. The public hearing tonight is the next step in the process to consider an agreement between Salt Lake City Corporation and Mill Creek regarding boundary adjustments. The proposal involves adjusting the city's boundaries in an area bordered by 1300 East Street and Highland Drive and Miller Avenue and Woodland Avenue, with the land transferring from Salt Lake City's jurisdiction to the city of Mill Creek. The proposal would also transfer a roundabout to Mill Creek's jurisdiction at approximately 2300 East Street and 2700 South Street. Salt Lake City would receive an agreed-upon amount of tax revenue as ongoing compensation for tax-based changes resulting from the boundary adjustment. The proposal is the result of a collaborative process involving elected officials from both cities and all over the past several months. The city of Mill Creek will also hold a public hearing on Monday, November 25th. The council may take action on an ordinance approving the boundary adjustment on Tuesday, December 3rd. Mr. Chapman, your 2 minutes.
Okay, I support the boundary changes and the ordinance and everything on this, except you stopped halfway through. There are a whole bunch of boundaries between Mill Creek and Salt Lake City that need to be adjusted for public safety, for real services issues, oriented issues. And one of the most important public safety issues are 4 homes on Richmond, just north of Brickyard, and they're south of Elgin. Those 4 homes are Mill Creek homes, but everything else around them is Salt Lake City property. And because of that, those 4 homes have a sidewalk that is under and right next to the street. So you're taking your life in your hands when you walk as a pedestrian by those 4 homes trying to get to Brickyard from Salt Lake City. That's an issue. And because of the boundary issues between Mill Creek and Salt Lake City, those 4 homes, and specifically the sidewalk, are unsafe to walk on. So I'd like you to continue discussing boundary changes with Mill Creek and fix the issue, because pedestrians shouldn't have to take their life in their hands every time they walk on a sidewalk. Please keep talking to Mill Creek.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. I'd also like to acknowledge that Mill Creek Mayor Jeff Silvestrini is here in the front row. I'm sure he'd love to talk to you about this issue. I don't have any other cards. Does anyone else would like to speak on this issue tonight? Okay, seeing none, I'll look for a motion.
Mr.
Mr.
Chair,
Chair.
oh,
Oh, that's fine, Chris.
I move that the council continue the public hearing to a future council meeting.
Is there a second?
I've got a substitute motion, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I move the council close the public hearing and defer action to a future council meeting.
Second. Oh, wait, he has to accept
Yeah.
it.
I'll
To
accept
accept
that. Sure.
Okay. Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Wharton, a substitute motion by Councilmember Rogers, a second by Councilmember Mendenhall. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. We are at potential action items tonight. Our first item is regarding an ordinance requesting to rezone a property at 1937 South and 1200 East from RMF 35 moderate density multifamily to RMF 45 moderate density multifamily. I don't know if I have any cards on this. Is there anybody who wishes to speak on this particular item?
I think it's an action.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, excuse me. I will look for a motion. I
Mr. Chair, I have
apologize.
a motion. I move the council defer action to a future council meeting.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Rogers, a second by Councilmember Wharton. Any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, is that to wait until the council member for this district is present? Got it.
Any other discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Our next potential action item is C2 regarding an ordinance amendment to consolidated fee schedule for Class 7 sewer rate. I'll look for a motion.
I move that the council adopt the ordinance.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Valdo Morris, a second by Councilmember Wharton. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. We are now on to item C3 regarding an ordinance, the budget amendment number 2, an employment staffing document for fiscal year 2019-2020.
I'm going to recuse.
Councilmember Mendenhall would like to recuse from this particular item.
I know it says public hearing, but we're not doing a public hearing tonight, right? It's an action item, right? Okay.
It's an action item.
I'll recuse
Yeah.
while you vote on this one. Thank you.
Okay. I'll read this when she steps out, actually.
Okay.
The reason Councilmember Mendenhall is stepping out is this amendment is, a proposed amendment includes funding for elected official transition, including the interim addition of up to 3 mayor-elect transition staff members and 1 interim city council member-elect position through January 6, 2020, funding for maintenance of existing art in the city, and a study to learn more about maintaining that art collection, funding police overtime for patrols in city parks, and a roundabout at 2000 East Parleys Canyon Boulevard to improve traffic flow and safety, among other changes.
Mr. Chair, I move that the council adopt an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2019-2020 final budget of Salt Lake City, including the employment staffing document and the annual compensation plan for non-represented employees related to item A13 transition expenses as shown on the motion sheet.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Wharton, a second by Councilmember Rogers. Any discussion on this item? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That amendment will pass. I'm in favor as well. I'm in favor as well, since we need a quorum.
Yes.
Yes. That motion is unanimous among the 4 here. We can bring Councilmember Mendenhall back in. Next, we are at the comment section of our agenda. Are there any questions of the mayor's chair? We'd like to excuse Patrick Leary, David Litvak, and their staffs. They all had prior engagements tonight, and they let us know beforehand. That's all for that, unless you want to talk to the chair. Okay.
The mayor-elect will.
The mayor-elect can take questions after this, I believe. All right, we are on to item D2. We'll be taking general comments. I will call people based on the comment cards that have been turned in, these yellow ones. Just like the public hearings, I will call 2 people at a time. The first person, please come forward to the microphone. And the second person, please be ready to follow. And again, please remember to be respectful of each other like we talked about earlier on. We are going to start tonight with Craig Thusen. Excuse me if I mess your name up. I apologize. Followed by Rod Miller.
Promise I will not yell or jump on a table.
I'm going to hold you to that then.
I'm here to talk about an alternative to the current trajectory of the homeless crisis, which continues to devolve, I think most of us agree. And that alternative is what we call the Million Job Initiative. We have a platform, the easiest way to describe it is a gig economy platform, two-sided secure payment system that can be used for jobs very similar to any of the other gig economy companies. But what we're applying it to here is that given the $400+ billion that are donated every year, according to the IRS, to tax exempts, we are after significant numbers. There's a bank that I won't mention, you'll all know who it is, because it's in the media all the time, just announced they are, over the next 5 years, donating $1 billion to tax exempts to focus on the housing issue. Our Million Job Initiative is going to go after them and others like them who are giving away the money anyway and focus on solving or at least ameliorating the current strategy to use taxpayer dollars to fund these new resource centers, or I won't use that, it disparages. I call them something else. They're newer, nicer facilities. That ship has sailed. They are up and running. They will continue to be a drag. There are, in Salt Lake every day, between 500 and 3,000 Craigslist postings for apartments, rooms, et cetera. And using the donated dollars, we
Time.
can put,
You can finish your thought right now. And then.
we can move many of our friends, as Pamela Atkinson says. She always talks about her friends. All they want is a room of their own. They're not getting that. But there are 2 other elements in the Million Job Initiative.
We can take the rest of your comment offline if you'd like as well, since we're out of time.
Okay, I'll be happy to talk. I'm not here asking for anything. I just wanted you to know what's going on because you can join the party
Thank you very much.
without using any taxpayer dollars.
Appreciate that. Rod Miller, followed by George Chapman.
I would like to address a possible temporary solution, a short-term solution to service of the homeless population. I suggest the abandoned Wing Point Golf Course close in proximity to the airport be used as a homeless shelter. The clubhouse, renovated at little cost, could be utilized to house male homeless persons, a warm, safe, and protected environment. There are also outside restroom facilities on the golf course that could be utilized by the element of the population who desire the camp-out option. Salt Lake City Police Station is in close proximity to the golf course and police patrol the area. The area is well fenced and bordered by the surplus canal. Tracks line circles the golf course, and a track stop could be designed and implemented on the south side of the golf course. Free track tickets given to sheltered residents could ensure access by the same residents to service options and resources within the central city. Movement of the homeless population could, because of fencing and the surplus canal, be directed away from the airport terminals. Simply built and well-insulated barracks could be built to handle an overflow population with access to the outdoor restrooms. If there's a zoning problem concerning Wing Point use, change the zoning. If the airport objects, then appeal to the airport administration's higher nature and ask them to authorize use of Wing Point for our homeless population. If use of the area is suitable for the affluent golfers, why not the less fortunate of our society? A public service discussion on the part of the airport administration would be appreciated. Anyway, it's an idea to consider. I know the zoning, I think I might have talked to you about airport, the airport, they allow golfers out there. It's a temporary, solution, the facilities are there, and, it wouldn't be too expensive, and it would perhaps solve a rather divisive, program or problem within the city. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. George Chapman, and after Mr. Chapman, Blake Wilkinson.
So if I call anybody who rides a bicycle on the sidewalks downtown a criminal, is that being disrespectful? So I'm not tempted to call people like that criminals. Why don't you just overturn the ordinance, Mayor-elect? This is something important. If you want people to ride bicycles, they should be able to ride bicycles downtown on the sidewalk. All the tourists that come into town riding green bikes, they ride on the sidewalk. We don't want them riding in the street. There's a big difference between e-scooters and bicycles. And now that you're pushing ordinances to push the e-scooters into the road, bicycles shouldn't be lumped in with e-scooters. So I'm asking you to overturn the ordinance. It's very important for bicyclists to be able to use the sidewalk downtown. No problem before. All of a sudden with these scooters, it's a problem. Shouldn't be. Overturn the ordinance. On 500 East, there's a project to actually destroy the road and make it a useless mass transit route, because you're putting in raised crosswalks that buses have a problem going over, and you're actually making a shared road one way all the way from 9th to 21st. And that doesn't make sense, because shared road with a bicycle on a level road, you're effectively making everybody go 10 miles an hour. It doesn't make sense. You're blocking all traffic with this proposal when a bus stops to pick up passengers, like on 13th East, which increase pollution. So I'm asking you to revisit the 500 East reconstruction plan and make it safe for everybody, make it simple for buses to keep going, and not destroy the mass transit route that's actually pretty popular. And also, you have a 6th East, you have a 3rd East bicycle route. You don't need a 50 specialty bus or bicycle route. Please change 500 East project. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. Blake Wilkinson, the last card I have tonight.
Hi, Council. Thank you for your time. My father's a mayor in Davis County, and so I understand that you're not doing it for the money. I just want to bring two things up really quickly. I read in the news that we're considering a painting that's going to be $35,000 is the projected amount. That's what I read in KSL anyway. I definitely value, and I think many of us citizens in Salt Lake City value the mayor and her contribution. And I understand the paintings in the past have been that expensive. That doesn't mean that we need to do things like we've done in the past for this. I think it's quite overpriced for a painting. Secondly is e-scooters. I think that there's a lot of value in e-scooters when it comes to pollution, when it comes to parking problems. As Salt Lake City grows, I personally see it as the next Denver in size, and we're going to have parking issues, and e-scooters really will help solve that problem. I don't think it's the e-scooters themselves, it's the amount. If we replace the e-scooters with bicycles, we'd have the same issues as we do now. So I hope that we can find a solution there without just banning e-scooters, because personally, I'm starting to see it go that way, as we're seeing Bird and Lime having to give some sort of acknowledgement, hey, please don't ride this on the sidewalk, which I understand is fine, but I hope that there's further conversations in that regard. And that's all I have for you. Thanks again.
Thank you very much for your time. That's the last card I had tonight. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the council tonight? Okay. Seeing none. We're going to move on. We have no new business tonight that I can tell, and we do have unfinished business, item F1 regarding grant holding account items, batch number 3 for fiscal year 2019-2020 associated with budget amendment number 4.
Mr. Chair, I move that the council approve all grant holding items with the exception of G6, Bureau of Justice Assistance Grant.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Mendenhall, a second by Councilmember Rogers. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. We are now on to the consent portion of our agenda. I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt the consent agenda.
We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Wharton, a second by Councilmember Rogers. Any discussion on the consent agenda? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. This concludes our formal city council meeting tonight, and the meeting stands adjourned.